had my chance to do what I set out to do, to kill Nazis. That's why all the Jewish boys joined.
That is a clip from the real Inglorious Basterds, which airs tonight on History. And joining us this morning is Min Suk Lee, the filmmaker.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is it? This is you going and finding the real story behind the fictional movie?
It is, and it's a really different story. I think Tarantino's film is known for being a revenge fantasy. It's a story that's really high on the violence quota. But this story, which is more like the true story, it has a lot of similar story beats to Inglorious Basterds, is a lot more complicated, as life can be. And the main people behind the story they were amazing characters. Fred Meyer, who's still alive, he's 91 years old. He led an OSS mission behind enemy lines to wreak havoc in Nazi Germany, and he was a Jewish-American refugee.
Yeah, and for those not familiar with the Tarantino film, as you were saying, some Jewish American soldiers really sent to Germany to kill Nazis. And I know the tagline for your documentary was, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
It certainly is, isn't it? And I think it's a story about resistance. It's a story about Jewish resistance during World War II, and oftentimes stories of Jewish resistance are less known. And it's two Jewish American refugees, Fred Meyer and Hans Winberg. At the time, they were young, 19-year-olds, who were living in Brooklyn, America, and they had basically nothing to lose. And their families had been destroyed by the Nazis, and they went back behind enemy lines to fight the Nazis, and they joined up with a German deserter from the army. So the three of them made the team Operation Green Up, and what they did was unbelievable. They flew in a retrofitted B-24 onto the Alps in the middle of the night in the wintertime, and they parachuted onto a glacier. It was 10,000 feet high. They jumped. One of them had never done a parachute jump in his life. And Fred, the leader of the mission, told him, don't worry, it's always the easiest when it's your first jump. It's snow.
Because
you just land in soft.
You can't be scared because you don't know what you're in for.
That's right. The first jump is the easiest.
What was the motivation for these men to, as you say, do something they'd never done before, very dangerous, very violent?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they were young, and I think at first it was revenge. It was to get back at everything their families had lost, at the Nazis and Hitler, and the evil of fascism. But then as they went through the mission, Fred Meyer himself had an opportunity for direct revenge because he was arrested by the Gestapo. He went undercover. What he did was unbelievable because many of these missions that the OSS did during World War II failed. They were in many ways set up to fail because they were near suicidal missions. Who would do this? Go behind enemy lines. You're a Jewish American refugee. Your family did everything to flee, and then you go back. So at one point in the mission, he was going undercover as a German officer. He had gotten the uniform of a German officer, and he passed. And he was in the German Officers Club collecting secret information from the other German officers who never suspected that this was a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, America. And they're telling him a lot of spy, and amazing intelligence about the whereabouts of Hitler's bunker in Berlin, the movements of Mussolini in Austria, just intelligence that the Allies really needed. And their main job was to track the movement of German supplies and armies across the Brenner Pass from Germany that went into northern Italy, which was where World War II, one of the fronts was being fought. And their information managed to give the Allies enough credible information to do successful bombings of the German supply route. Now, Fred Meyer was actually, he was captured by the Gestapo and tortured for 3 days. He was bullwhipped, waterboarded, he was mercilessly beaten. And at the end of the war, he survived this. At the end of the war, his torturer was captured by the Americans, and he had an opportunity to exact revenge. He was invited to go and see his torturer, and at first he thought, yeah, I'm going to go and get just desserts. And when he went and saw his torturer, the Gestapo interrogator, who had tortured him for 3 days, was in the corner of the prison saying, please, do what you can do, what you have to do to me, but don't hurt my family or my children. And Fred looked at him and he said, what do you think we are, Nazis? And he walked away. And to me, that story is one of the morals of how this it might have started off as a thirst for revenge, but it came much deeper.
He refused to sink to the level of those who persecuted him. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
All right, the film Real Inglourious Basterds airs tonight at 9 p.m. on History.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning, the director of the film, Min-Suk Lee. Thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome.
Fascinating story. You're telling that story of him putting the uniform on. I'm just imagining his heart must have been doing this, right? Knowing what he was getting into.
I think Fred is someone who has no fear nerve. How else do you do the kinds of actions that he did? He was also asked to find out about the production of German jets in Messerschmitt plants. And these plants were incredible. They were built inside mountains, underground, and they were producing these jets that could turn the course of the war. Well, what he did was he took on another cover as a French laborer. He just changed his clothes. He walked in. He pronounced his name differently. Now I'm Fred Maillard. And he got a job in the production plant, and he was able to find out about the production of the jets. And he started sabotaging the jets himself.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Min-Suk Lee.
You're
you
welcome.
can watch that documentary on the History Channel tonight. Thank you for joining us.